one. So Bas, I'm going to turn this one to you.
Perfect, yeah?
Yeah.
Shall I do a quick introduction of WordProof first?
Yeah, sure.
So I'd like to say the internet as we know it has a deep-rooted issue, and it's trust. Ipsos 2019, the research shows us that 29% of the Europeans are suspicious of the internet, and 86% of all the people in the world have fallen for fake news at least once. So this causes fewer purchases online, people using fake IDs, and a decreasing trust in the internet. So our mission is to bring a layer of trust over the internet. What I read is real and I can verify who wrote it. What I create is mine and I have the proof. And in disputes, for example, in e-commerce, I have leverage, I'm protected. Timestamping content on the blockchain, so it's kind of a certificate of birth, but then not for people, but for content and publishers. That's what we do, or web shops. And what you see here on the slide is what it could look like. So for example, on the left top, you see a blockchain timestamp certificate. One of the can you keep
back?
it?
Sorry.
Yeah. So what you see on the left, under a piece of content, could be anything, a product in a web shop or an article, you see a link. If you click on it, you see, hey, this is, at first you see, hey, it hasn't been changed since the last timestamp. Another important thing from the Ipsos research, 85% of the Europeans support education on fake news. So we thought, okay, what can we do in our timestamp certificate? There's a great explanation. What am I looking at? So that's what you see on the top. And on the bottom, you see a way to check yourself what the origin of the content is, kind of the certificate of birth. And what you see there is, for example, hey, you see red text, green text. Red is what disappeared, and green is what's been added. So you can see kind of a trail of history of content, which would be hugely beneficial for product information, but also for publishers. On the right, you see some stats on adoption. Almost 200,000 timestamps replaced. All real content, but the number we put on top was the 35 million, because that's the amount of links to timestamp certificates we've served the last 8 months.
Cool.
If you go to the next slide, you see we...
Go on.
Yeah, we work... We just have, it's not just tooling, because for adoption here, we have a totally open source manner, a whole holistic vision on how timestamping should become a standard. That's not by creating our own standard, but by integrating with current standards there are already. So search engines, for example, they work with schema.org. Governments make it mandatory to use Dublin Core. That's another standard to present information to social media, search engines, because the timestamp certificate is cool, but that's something for people. We make sure that the timestamps will be added to schema.org, for example, so that search engines could interpret what's going on there. A timestamp, just a proof of existence, makes sense. We did a legal opinion on how it will hold in court. Long story short, it will work in court, it will hold up. But when you add self-sovereign identity to it,
then
you can say,
really gonna get added value.
So number one, without identity, it's transparency. If you add identity, it's accountability, and that will lead towards a more trustworthy internet.
Absolutely.
So you have identity, that's number one, and then we have tier levels. So we say, hey, no identity is tier level 0. Then we have full-fledged government identity, that's tier level 6, and everything in between. And there we come to fake news, because with those timestamp ecosystem, we say, hey, Europe now has the tools, or the world now has the tools to fight the resistance of fake or tech giants, because they say, hey, we don't want timestamping, we don't want identities, because it's opposed to their business model. For example, John de Mol, the Talpa director, he has a lot of trouble with impersonating, and it's in the news all the time. If you add identity, hey, you have to add identity before advertising will be approved, then you can totally eliminate the deep fakes or the advertising with fake with identity fraud.
And even if you don't have upfront approval, if you see a video of yourself and you add your SSI consent to it, basically, so then all of a sudden the video has so much more value, because you know that the people in the video actually gave their consent, yes, this is truly me, instead of a deep fake. And I think we're quite far ahead in the world in our thinking,
Yeah.
because 99.99% don't even know what deepfakes are.
Yeah.
but we know it's gonna be a problem, and in this case, you can actually say, all right, by timestamping
Yeah.
it, we prove the authenticity of the content,
Yeah.
and by adding the SSI to it,
Yeah.
you add the consent to it, and thus you say this as a total
Yeah.
is fighting it, right?
Yeah. And can we do
Yeah.
the next slide?
Yeah, sure.
Because then I'll have it here as well. You have two parts. Number one is identity of persons.
Yeah.
So what do we say? Hey, there are two use cases of the person thing. If you say a CEO of a company does an opinion, publishes something on the website, then there's a marketing department, there's a legal department, and a CEO. They all have to timestamp it. So with multi-signature timestamps, you can kind of connect to the governance in an organization. So that's persons connected to it.
Yeah.
And number two, you can have really the identity of content. When you make a self-sovereign identity for content, there's a webinar series, ssimeetup.org by Drummond Reed. He defined the IDs and the SSI definition.
Big fan.
Yeah, great guy. We had the pleasure to have some brainstorming with him. We were really happy that, you're in touch with him for long.
Yeah, he was at their office for like 4 hours a couple weeks ago. It's great.
Amazing guy. And what you see is if you can make kind of a SSI for content or a decentralized identifier for content, you can make content transferable. You can do licensing in the content. You can do the multi-signature. You can connect to the governance in that case. So that's really interesting to, that's what we're discovering at the moment. So SSI for content.
But that is truly a new way of thinking.
It's a new way of thinking.
And this is relating to the types of identity.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a person anymore. It's I would say an object identity, where the content is an object in itself. Then,
yeah.
Right?
Then, and maybe making the bridge to fake news.
Yeah.
Because what happens on Twitter 2 weeks ago, they shut off one site and they say, hey, it's not allowed. We delete it from our platform. That's censorship. And in my opinion, fake news may always be there, because fake news, sometimes it's trolling is bad, but there must be a place for trolling. But in many cases, fake news is an opinion of a person or opinion of a group of persons. Yeah. With the tier levels, you can say, hey, I take no accountability until I take full accountability. What you should do, every fake news or every opinion may be there, but really the problem is when something goes from an opinion to mainstream. So what we should avoid at all time is just opinions going mainstream.
Yeah, and because it's a fine balance, because you mentioned the word already, censorship. We should always have freedom of speech. And what somebody calls fake news can be somebody's honest opinion.
Exactly.
But in this case, you can always keep them accountable to their opinion, so they can't say, I've never said that.
Yeah,
and
for example,
because people can change their opinion, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
You learn stuff, and you evolve as a person, and also in your opinions.
And also, it's a reputation around that identity. Yeah. But what the WordProof timestamp ecosystem is a holistic, open vision, and then you can say, hey, tier level 1, 2, 3 on social media, or tier level 1 and 2, it's only for your friends. Yeah. Tier level 3, 4, it's friends of friends. Yeah. And from tier level 5, it can go mainstream.
So you can post it on any public website if you want to.
It can spread. The algorithm is allowed to bring it to more people than just your friends when it's tier level 3 or 4. Yeah. And still you can say, hey, that person, I really don't like him. So filter that one out for me. But even that could be totally in an open source and transparent manner.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can say, for
by
example,
filtering other persons, that's always
no,
tricky
it's on a personal base. The algorithm shouldn't decide, but it should be able to do that yourself. For example, my grandma, she's how do you say, dementia? Yeah. So, for example, but she knows how internet banking works. So what you can say is, hey, only tier level 4 or above our website she can visit. So in that way, timestamps can fix, in a way, the broken web. We can make it a trustworthy place for her as well.
Yeah.
Without keeping her out.
Yeah, which of course is also a problem with people, especially the elderly. They might think that everything that is online that they see might be trustworthy. They might not know the difference between a website that is entirely fake news or even satire. They might see the Onion and think that it's all true.
Happens all the time.
That of course like with election meddling and things like that. These people are sensitive to being manipulated by fake news, and they're a large voter base. So I think that definitely have a huge impact.
We think so, yeah.
So what would your what have your main challenges and like findings been in this? Because of course it's a huge problem. I can imagine that you've overcome quite a few challenges.
We started with, for example, people had to use their own blockchain wallet to make the timestamps, with Scatter in this case. And we thought, okay, that's the most clean way to do it. But then we find out, it's too complicated for people to work with keys and stuff like that. So we made a kind of a We Stamp For You service. So the big publishers, many of them, use the We Stamp For You service.
Which in itself is a consent as well. So you say, you can do it for me.
Exactly. Yeah. And we started with, as a company, we're chain agnostic, but we started with EOS.io. They have a very advanced permission system. So we can say, the only thing we can do on your behalf is timestamping on this website, for example. Yeah. So we don't have their private keys to own their whole accounts.
Yeah. No, I'm really excited about this solution, and you can tell Jimmy as well. That's also the reason why we partner in this one, to see if we can really build this because with your experience from the time stamping part, and our experience from the blockchain SSI part. That would be a golden combination.
Exactly,
we think so at least.
No, because just a timestamp without identity has a lot of value already. For example, to search engines, you can prove that you didn't tamper with it because you have a certificate of birth, proof of existence. But when you add identity, and you as a company, you both are, you are so far in thinking, but also in doing the Medicare
really building
use case. Go to the website, check the Medicare. I don't get paid for this, but check out the Medicare use case. It's reducing costs, just a daily operational business case.
And that's always been the great part at Ledger Leopard, that we actually build what we talk about.
It's
really try it.
And you said,
proof of the pudding is in the eating.
Come over, come check out what we do. And I thought, okay, just another identity. And then I came with Jeroen, your CTO, and you, and I was mind blown. And big magic will happen there.
Yeah, absolutely. So so this is a really nice example how we can use SSI not only from a personal identity part, but on a whole next level, actually solving what you call the broken web.
The broken web, let's fix the broken web, and we should do it together. Also, what you do, you started with identity, then you saw, hey, Drum and Read, the SSI initiative is there, and we team up. It's not a zero-sum game. It's amazing.
Absolutely. That's what I always say. This is a positive-sum game. If we work together, we help each other, because that's been one of the main advantages of the web. Because before, everyone was working in parallel, in silos, and now we have the opportunity to come together. Like, oh, you already built that? Oh, fantastic. So I don't have to do it. I can build on that. We stand on each other's shoulders.
And you're a steward since day one, so you walk the talk, and that's great. That's why I was so honored to be with you, Nicole.
Thank you. I think this use case, like it's completely on the one hand completely new to me. So I learned a lot from this, and I've never thought about the combination with SSI in this way, because of course there's like this kind of Oracle problem at the end, like who puts it in, who has the accountability?
Exactly. And
so I'm very glad that I've been in contact for Bas for a long time. That we can cross reference our ideas in this case, and this is where we build.
And we will. And for example, because that's what you see on the screen as well. It's kind of the DID semicolon. WordProof, or it could be content. We're defining it at the moment. It's not there yet. It will be a chain agnostic standard.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot going on in the DID world. So that's what we work on.
So for the interest of time, because